All right, what's going on, family? This is Kevin with Chop It Up for Tuesday. What's today's date? The 11th. Got the fellas here. We are again just having our conversations, barbershop conversations we have, just bringing the folks online. Um, I am here. I got the fellas with you. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Sorry, you know you always go first, man. Quit playing.
I don't always go first. All right, I'll go first. Tari Watkins, Oklahoma City. Glad to be here on a Tuesday evening. It's still hot. Probably not as hot as Arizona, but it's still hot. That's why I'm on the inside. I'm a big guy. I don't need to be out in the heat. I'm in a nice, cool weather. Just had me some wings for dinner, so I'm good. I'm good.
Darren, you up?
Hey, everybody. This is Darian Lewis. I'm the great metropolis of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Happy to be here once more. One more time amongst the fellas. Excuse me. My chair almost knocked over. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, please don't fall. Don't
Let's
fall.
go.
Yeah, Derek Sire here, Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City. Like that was like the Ohio State, like the Oklahoma City. Shout out to everybody who flush, wash their hands, and then spray. Holla back.
Listen, in this era of work from home, I think I need to send a reminder out. Showering and brushing of teeth is still a vital and crucial part of life. And deodorant. Put on that right
Yes, it
guard.
is.
Put on that minin, whatever it is. All
Whatever
right?
you got, it don't
Whatever you
matter.
got. Listen. All right. So,
Bro, I ain't heard a right guard in a minute.
right guard. Hey, right guard, Old Spice, whomever it is.
Whatever
works.
Hey, man. Hey, that Old Spice swagger. Have y'all tried that yet?
Listen, yes.
No.
Hey, I got the Old Spice Swagger body wash. Boy, that stuff. Hey, Old Spice coming back with a vengeance, bro.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
they're like,
impressed.
we're not just for old men anymore. All right, we are
Nah.
just
Wait,
old and
hey,
caught up.
Kev, aren't we getting up there though?
No,
Wait, I mean,
look. I said, look, it's not just for old men anymore.
All the old guys talking about it's not for old men. Talking about,
Listen.
y'all heard? hey, listen, Brute making a comeback.
Bro, hey, I'm just saying, man. You gotta get that man. And young bucks don't know nothing about this stuff.
Yo, you know what I had last week? When was the last time you tapped that prune juice, son? Like, listen, throw it on some ice. It's making a comeback. They sleeping on prune juice,
I
homie.
can make my prune smoothie, bro. My prune juice.
Listen.
Man.
But this is how we get
Oh,
down.
dying right.
As you can tell.
RC Cola drinking. Oh, purple drinking.
Hey, call it a pruny. There you go.
Oh my God.
Listen.
All right, I'm back. Sorry. Let's go.
As you can tell, though, everything that we do, everything we talk about is completely unscripted off the top. You're going to hear us talking about each other, talking to each other, talking, yeah. So that's just how we get down. All right, so we're going to start off. There's a lot going on. We have a topic that we're going to jump off with, but there's so much going on right now. Right?
Lots.
So let's kind of start with the intended topic, which was, where are we after this whole thing with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor? Have we moved on too fast? Have we treated this almost like Rodney King, where we're angry for a moment and then we back to normal, or we're kind of like squirrel? We got something else that catches our attention.
Well, I
Chop
think
it up.
D, all of the above. One of the challenges in man, I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist. So, in a perfect world, for us to not have to deal with, being in an us versus them environment, that's really the goal. The goal in a perfect world is everybody's just human. But unfortunately, uh, uh, there is this very, very much this pervasive us versus them approach to society in America. So, with that said, my point being, um, if there is a them, they have been very effective at neutralizing a central power base. We do not have for the African American culture. We just don't have a central power base that can really say, hey, this is what we're going to do as a culture, and then the entire culture shift and respond and move. We just don't have it. And so, a lot of times when I can remember, Kevin, you remember, oh Lord, I didn't forgot the man's name. He was a pastor. We were under him,
Carter.
Tulsa and Omogi.
Carter.
Thank you, Apostle Carter. One of the things that he used to say was we should have went for sovereignty instead of we should have went for sovereignty, instead of what we got, because we have been neutralized trying to go for the everybody's equal versus the us versus them issue that we are still dealing with. We still got a them, man. We still have a societal, systemic them that is trying to make sure that there is no but black power base. They've done a very effective job at eliminating that. So yeah, did we move on too fast? Absolutely, but it's because there's no strength behind our movement.
Yeah.
There, I said.
Derek, go ahead. Derek, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if y'all ever been driving in the car and you let one go, you lean to the side and be like, and you let one go, and then you get out, you shut the door, you go in the store, you come back, when you get
It's
back
still
in,
there.
it hit you, it's still
Bam.
there. It's not as strong, but it's still there. You can tell what just happened, right? That's what this whole thing has been like.
Yeah.
It's like we was riding in the car and we let Breonna Taylor go, right? You know what I'm saying? George Floyd, right? It's in the atmosphere. No matter if you roll the window down, it ain't going nowhere. That's how it was for like 2 weeks. But then we got out, and Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion came out with WAP, and the NBA started back up, and COVID, and school is starting back up, and people trying to figure out if they got their full-time babysitters back. Donald Trump took unemployment down from 600 to 400 a week. Like, we got all this coming, and we forgot about Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. But every now and again, somebody will sit in your passenger seat, and they'll just walk back up, and you're like, oh yeah. So I don't think we moved on. I don't think it's gone nowhere. I think it's still in the atmosphere. It's not as strong as it was. I think it's still there. You're going to scroll the internet, and every 2 out of 10 people you come across is going to be like, say her name, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. You're going to still come across. It ain't going nowhere yet, but I think we did leave it a little bit too fast. But I can say that's what they count on. That's what they count on. They count on the next iPhone. We get the iPhone, we move to the next one, right? LeBron James come along, we look into the next one, right? The next movie come on, we look into the next one. They're used to the fast pace of us moving on to something else. So if we continue to let white America know, the predominant culture know that we're not going to look forward to the next one, then maybe they'll change their perspective. But right now, they just waiting it out. They got the windows rolled down. They just waiting for it to air out. They're like, give black people give them enough time. They'll just move on.
What you got, Tori?
So I don't know if people want to hear what I got to say, but I'm just going to throw it out there to begin with. I kind of agree a little bit with Darren and a little bit with Derek. I go back to something that we said earlier on when we first started having these, that we have to realize that this is a long race. This is not something that we expect to happen in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. It might not even be 5 years. It might even be our lifetime. And Derek mentioned something about that last time. This is a long race, and we're going to have to study ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, just because the streets, the marches, the internet, whatever, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, I don't care what else, TikTok, doesn't matter to me. Whatever is out there, if it's not as fervent as it was, doesn't mean that it's still not strong, because there's something that's been sparked within me. There's something that's been sparked within my kid, my daughter. There's a mindset shift and a mindset change that has happened within me within the past 4 to 5 months that didn't happen before. It was there,
yeah,
but for some reason, I don't want to use the word snap. It's like a light switch, something more of a realization for myself. So for me, I take this a segment and a step at a time. People don't want to listen, I talk. Things that I see that are said that aren't right, I call it out. Have conversations. I don't call people out to be mean. I do it on the side. I don't do it over social media. I hit them up personally, and this is a long race. Even though I may not be posting things or making another video, it doesn't mean that I have stopped. But it's almost like a groundswell.
Yeah.
When a groundswell gains momentum, it's consistent momentum. That spark will always start some type of rumble, or always will start some type of ripple effect. But as we know, with a ripple effect, you got that initial impact, boom, and you see the splash, then you see the ripples. But slowly over time, those ripples turn into movements. Those movements turn into waves. Those waves turn into a force. So for me, I don't necessarily think that we've moved away from George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or anybody else. I believe, especially with myself, I see a consistent momentum, and we hopefully I don't want to mistake that consistent momentum where it's slowly gaining people that haven't been on our side before as us stepping back and forgetting. I'm not saying that some people have not let their foot off the pedal. That has happened. But for me, I look at this as a long race. I have to think of the same mindset that my mom and my dad and my aunts and my uncles and all of them had, realizing that this thing was not going to happen within a matter of months. We're talking years of things happening, of things changing. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, shirts aren't flying off the shelves. You don't see many people wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt anymore. You don't see "I Can't Breathe" shirts anymore. Even though I just got mine like 2 weeks ago, and I'll be wearing them. But it took a long time because a guy like me, I'm kind of big, so they had to be specially made. I'm just saying. But they came in finally, though. It took a while. But that's the way I see it. If that, I don't know if that makes sense or not to
Yeah.
you all, but that's what it feels like to me. I said it to the group at Dell that this is something that we have to make sure that we're diligent with and not let it fall by the wayside. What are things that we're doing within ourselves, within our families, within our communities? The people that really do reach out to us and say, "Hey, how can I help?" Give them some marching orders, give them some books to read, give them materials, give them resources. Don't just say, "Hey, I need you to speak up." Speaking up is great,
Right.
but if we're not helping others understand and realize where we're coming from without materials or places to go to or links or websites so they can then virtually lock arms with us and continue that movement in their circles, I think yeah, it will fall by the wayside. But that a lot of times that stuff isn't seen. It's not felt until you see that groundswell gain momentum and gain some strength.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think a couple of things, Darren. You said as far as there is no lead. You know, back in the '60s, you had Malcolm or Martin. You were for the most part you were in one camp or the other, right? Now there were still some that were like, look, don't neither one of y'all. We don't speak for us. We just want to get survive, right? But nowadays we don't have those polarizing voices that will say, "This is how I feel. This is how I feel." There is a plethora of voices. Some of them which are, if we're honest, self-destructive. Candace Owens, that 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 do not speak from the experience with any level of genuine, with any level of authenticity. And I think that that's what we are missing. But I think that yes, we have not moved on. We've moved on with the intensity, but I think that the we have not moved on with the engagement. If I can put it that way. Tori, one thing you mentioned was, and I had a meeting with pastors. I was in a meeting with pastors here in Phoenix, and we gave them homework. We told them,
Yeah,
go and watch
yeah,
13th. Go and
yep.
watch When They See Us. Go and watch the hate you give. We gave them things. Go and watch these things. Go and do that. Some didn't do their homework. Others did, and the ones that did came back to the table and said, "Okay, I kind of understand now. What else can I do? What more do you want from us? What else can I help in? And so there is that conversation that needs to happen. I believe is happening with greater. It's happening different than it did with, let's say, Rodney King. I think it's happening a little
Yeah.
more. It's not as overt as it was 6 weeks ago, but I think it still is happening in some respects.
Yeah. Derek,
So
were you going to say
I'll
something?
chime in on that as yeah, I'll chime in on that as well. I had an opportunity to I met this guy a couple of years ago, but it wasn't until recently that I knew that he was classmates with George Floyd, and we had coffee here in Oklahoma City. And he went up the week before the funeral, got a chance to hang out with his old football teammates, the old schoolmates, classmates, got to hang out with the family just a little bit. They had, some protection that was keeping people from the family. But he said when he looked around, it was very apparent to him that George Floyd, the man, was different than George Floyd, the movement. And so I want to take that point because after listening to Tari, I want to take this point to clarify that I believe the movement is different than the man. When I said Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and have we moved on? Is there still a remnant in the air? I think that the movement still has steam. I think that somehow we've lost track of the person.
Mm,
And I think oftentimes what we do as a community is that we're looking for someone to rally behind,
Yeah,
not because of how awesome they are, but because of what they represent.
yeah,
It's the
right.
same thing with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, the man that was getting ready to throw in prison. Muhammad Ali, the boxer, was the American champion,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It wasn't until he stood up as the man, right, that people started to have beef with him being a boxer. And I think oftentimes we lose the person or the manhood or the womanhood in a cause because we're looking for something to rally around, to rally behind. I hate that these names have become a fad or a trend.
yeah,
I love, I want to say this with caution, that we have been able to capitalize and put some momentum behind the tragedy.
yeah,
I've heard people say that something about this felt different. As many unarmed black men and women that have been, uh, I think we're using the term lynched now. As many of those people that have been murdered and killed, whether they were armed or unarmed, we've seen police officers take down armed people with knives and AK-47s and charged. We've seen them take them down and gone to jail. We've seen bombers, suicide bombers come in. The Oklahoma City bomber be taken into custody. We've seen these things happen. But I want to say that as many as we've seen over the past, that for a lot of people, this felt different.
yeah.
I hate that we've lost the name and the personhood of these individuals, but of course we've rallied around the cause. So I just wanted to differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but I think the main reason why this felt different to a lot of people was because they've never literally seen somebody's life just snuffed out in front of their eyes. So that was strong. It took me a week before I watched it myself. It was I literally watched it that Monday after it happened the following week. Because there was no denying. So for me, with a lot of people that I talk with, they they saw someone lose their life. And these other cases, we've seen footage, it's real quick, real short, maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe 3 minutes, and then boom, it's done, it's over. But this was literally what 3 or 4 minutes after you actually passed, it was still being recorded.
Yeah.
That messed up a lot of folks. Um, and so people finally realized, hey, this is not right. I don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, Mediterranean, it didn't really matter. You saw that this was wrong.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there was no reason that this should have happened. And I think that's why there was such a huge outcry, not just from people of color, but just from people in general. And I think that's where that momentum has to be continued to grow in, not with just people of color, but the people that don't look like us. And like you said, Kevin, some people are going to do the homework, some people won't. But it's up to me to make sure, not to me by myself, but us, but I say me, but meaning us, to make sure that we have those tools, those resources available
Yeah.
when people ask. That's my job. That's what I'm taking upon myself. That I already have these things clipboarded. I already have them set. They're in a document. You want me to send you the document? Boom, there it is. I can literally send it to you within a matter of seconds. That's what I put upon myself to be able to try to keep that momentum going because it was devastating to millions of people. Was I as outraged as others were? No, because I was already there was a lot of scarring that had already taken place before. It was almost like I was desensitized. Like it hurt. I didn't like to see it, but for me, this wasn't a fresh wound. This was just a scar that had been aggravated again.
Yeah.
But for others, this is a fresh new scar. It hurts. It's swollen. It's oozing. It's painful. You just look at it and it hurts.
Hmm.
This is the first for a lot of people, and I'm gonna echo what Derek just said. I don't know. I'm not trying to be, not trying to promote it or be crass, but it took that for some people. It took that
Hmm.
tragedy, that
Hmm.
pain, that new wound that they've never experienced, for them to realize, yo, this sucks. What is this? And we're like, have you not been listening to us for the past 5 decades or however long? I mean, you know what
It
I'm saying.
it
Right, right,
validated
right, right.
it validated so that
Yes,
it's like, look, we're
for
not
some,
crazy,
for
right?
some,
For
yes,
some,
not all,
but it
yes,
validated to say, you know what, the thing that we've been singing about, rapping about, complaining
kneeling
about,
for,
making movies about, all of this, you just saw it. So we're not crazy.
no,
This is what we're experiencing. So yeah, it validated it.
it did.
Yeah, I'll also say this that we can't undermine the perfect storm in which this scenario happened. You got two things that happened. One, the height of technology as it pertains to social media and sharing,
Yeah.
and two, everyone being at home with their phones
Yep,
in their hands.
yep,
Right? You talk about the pandemic making
yep,
everybody be at home on
yep,
their phones in front of TV, and
yep,
then the peak of social media. Right?
yep,
You talking about TikTok, the peak of TikTok at the time,
Hmm.
Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like all these things are sharing avenues, and then people being at home and having nothing else to do.
Right.
Like it was almost like the perfect scenario, like the perfect timing for this to happen to ignite like this keg
yeah,
of racial tension in America.
yeah.
You're talking about overnight it going around the world
Yeah.
at night. At what other time in human history can that type of information travel at that speed?
No, the other thing that factors into that, Derek, is that with this whole COVID thing, you saw people being a lot more compassionate than they used to be.
Hmm.
There was
Mhm.
a lot more empathy in the, not just in this country, but in the world. So people are already sensitive to begin with,
Yeah.
helping out their neighbor, helping out somebody who was elderly, doing things for people. So the people's heart had already started changing anyway. And then, like you said, we're cooped up, we've got COVID, people are starting to be more caring and compassionate, everybody. We've got nowhere else to go. Bam, this happens. And boom, you're talking about people flooded with emotion, crying, like, I don't have any words to say. So, yes, you're right. It was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Do we wish for this stuff to happen? Of course we don't. I never
No.
want anybody to lose their life at all. I don't care what you look like or who you are. I don't want that to happen. But did it happen probably at the right time? Yeah, probably. I mean, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And for me, I have to make sure, and I want to say this the right way. Take advantage is not the right one, but I want to make sure that this opportunity that is put before us is not wasted.
Yes.
That I
You
want to make
salvage it.
sure,
Yeah.
yes, I want to make sure that I do better than what I've done in the past when it comes to things like this. Instead of just sitting back and going, "Oh man, what am I gonna do?" Being fearful. I mean, fear is fear. I mean, You can quote whatever scripture you want to. There's certain things I do to make sure I get home correctly. You can call it fear. I call it being smart. It doesn't really matter to me what you think about
Right.
it. But I have to use this now to make sure that I'm doing my part in my sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And I think if we all take that responsibility, not responsibility as a burden, but a responsibility as a badge, as an honor to be able to say, look, this is what I'm going to do for the cause
Right.
to make sure people are educated. If we take that upon ourselves and be able to run with that and realize the importance, the responsibility that we have and the authority now that we have, as Kevin said, it validates a lot of things that we all have been saying for years.
Mhm.
So now let's take that and use it and to be able to make a difference to the ones that want to hear.
Yeah, Derek, jump in there. I saw you trying to get in there, man.
Oh, man, you guys have said so much. There's so many um, great points. When you talked about, the perfect storm, the reality is the killings have always been going on. It's not necessarily as though everything kind of came together at the right moment, as much as you've got this, for lack of a better term, not trying to be crass, but you got this flow of bodies that caught up with technology.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and that's the sad part, more than anything. It's like, because I've had these conversations with people where um, they just, if they can't see it, it's not real,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they saw a man be treated worse than an animal, you know, with I mean, no remorse, no type of
Hands in his
it,
pockets.
four cops, and this is just what we do.
Over
That's
twenty
that was
dollars.
their approach. That was their
It's a
attitude. It was
Tuesday.
like, this is a typical day at work.
Mhm.
This is
Right.
what we do.
Right.
You know, and anybody with just a decent moral compass is like, hey, this is not the way this is supposed to
Right.
be.
Right.
You
Right.
know, what did he do to deserve that? You know.
Right.
Mhm.
So that to me, the thing that probably scares me more than anything is the fact that that type of treatment, that type of behavior, is stemmed from a mentality. It stems from a way of thinking that doesn't just get eradicated because you saw a video. And
Right.
and what's going to happen the next time this happens? God forbid. But I'm not naive enough to believe we're never
Right.
going to be here again.
Right.
Right.
And so that's probably the thing that probably, if anything shakes me about this, is like, God, I can't go and I can't do this again.
Mhm.
In my own heart and my mind, I just can't even wrap my brain around the level of emotions that it took just to make it through. Like, I couldn't function for a couple of days.
Mhm.
I was
I really
tired, bro.
Man,
Tired.
I can't. Tired is the best word you could use, because I don't have anything else to describe it.
That's
You're
an
absolutely
understatement.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like, dear God, help us get past, help us not to teach another generation to be so numb and so dismissive of
Right.
other people's pain, because to
Right.
me,
Mhm.
that's where that really comes from.
It is.
I don't see it. It can't be that bad.
So I'm gonna
Right.
throw this out, D, because you brought it up from Apostle Carter. Is the response, or is the could the solution be sovereignty versus equality?
Mm-mm.
In other words, did we miss the mark, or did we miss the boat? I don't know. Did we miss that when there was the opportunity to go back and create? And I think, what was it, Liberia?
Yeah.
What
Um,
was that our best option?
Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, just throwing it out there,
I, you know,
because
that's a
reparations should be on the table, but we're not gonna.
should.
Should be on the table.
But honestly, if we'll be, man, I hate being pessimistic about that too. But if we'll be honest, the appropriate financial response would bankrupt America.
It would.
The appropriate financial response in reparations would bankrupt America. But that's that's neither here nor there.
Well,
Did we miss
there's a
somehow?
figure there is a figure that
We're
has
already
been
like
thrown out though.
$400 trillion in debt. So what's another 400 trillion, right?
Right, but there's a figure that, because I think it was Robert Johnson that came out with a figure that said 385,000 for every descendant alive.
Right.
So, and
Here's the
that's
other
about the
challenge with
same
that,
as
though.
our recent one.
Well, here's the other challenge with that though, and this is another reason why something like that would stall is because records are so spotty.
Yes.
You can't, and no slight to anybody, but the Jamaican that's here, the Haitian that's here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we may look related, but our backgrounds are not the same.
Right.
Then people, when it comes to money, folks get real technical. They get to splitting hairs. Well, I mean, you got to be 100%.
Because one drop doesn't work in their favor at that moment.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Was sovereignty ever really on the table? That,
fully.
When
I don't know if it was fully on the table. It was bandied about. It was thrown around. I know Garvey, I think Lincoln wanted to send them back too. So it was in the conversation, but I don't know that it was a full on give me liberty or give me death type thing.
I ain't going back.
I've been looking at Ghana.
Go ahead.
I'm getting my passport ready. Just
I got mine.
I'll come visit.
If we got another 4 years.
Yeah. Well, shoot, if that's the case, Ghana, Liberia,
Puerto Rico.
And Derek over there quiet.
Puerto Rico.
Derek is quiet.
Hey, that's a U.S. territory. I can go there.
If that's the case, Virgin Islands. Listen,
hey, boy, shoot.
Hey, Derek, you're looking up and you're being quiet.
I know.
You muted, man.
You muted.
Hey, we can hear you, bro.
Sorry about that. The part of me, starts thinking of like, the South in the mid to late 1800s, where Black people were allowed to hold office and hold political affiliations and allegiances and property, and this is where they started implementing schools and wealth started being created, and then Jim Crow came back. I look at stuff like that, and I look at Black Wall Street, and I look at those things, and oftentimes I don't know if it's a direct conflict, but I think back in Acts 2, Acts 3, where it talks about people of different tongues and different nationalities coming together and having all things in common and bringing everything together and meeting each other's needs. And I often conflict my flesh with what I believe heaven wants. Mm-hmm. And if it's my job as a believer to bring heaven to earth, and I believe heaven looks a certain way, then that appears to be in direct conflict with sovereignty, right? That means I have to submit my sovereign fleshly desires to what I believe God has deemed as sovereign. And that is a holy heaven with one race and one spirit. I just wrestle with the concept of we would have been better off pre-segregation. We would have been better off with our own schools, with our own money, with our own barbershops, the part of me that just really wants to hook arms and kumbaya with all my different colored friends, different, that part, I'm torn at the flesh, man, because I just hear my daddy in the back of my mind saying, "The white devils, you better watch them. They got a track record. You know what I'm saying? If you find one good one, he got 100 bad friends. I hear my dad, and it's like I look out in the world, and I see so much. I look through the lens of love and hope, but what I see often conflicts with my faith. right? And I think that's the very essence of faith. So I'm just over here thinking, man, I'm like, man, like,
Well, can I throw in a question that might um, well, no, we'll just put it out here. It's going to be conflictual, Derek,
hmm
because I
hmm
hear what you're saying, and I can definitely say that at one point in time I agreed. But I guess my question is there any other nation that is not of the will of God that is sovereign? Is there or is it because of the way we've been raised in America?
Conditioned.
hmm
Yeah, to believe
hmm
that this nation has become the closest picture to what heaven should look like, or and but the problem is those that are in power used Christianity, they used the
hmm
Bible,
Of course,
they
Right,
of course.
justified
right,
it,
right,
they justified foul, harsh treatment of people that were not like them.
right.
Um,
Right.
and use scripture to back it up and say that God, and obviously we you got to be an idiot not to disagree with that. But that's been their claim to sovereignty. It's been their claim to authority. It's been every Christian nation's claim to authority and sovereignty as a result of that. And so, my question is, would we really um, not be reflecting heaven if we were to choose to fight more for peace? And when I say fight for peace, I'm talking about by getting up and creating our own nation, just the same as the United States of America came into being. They
hmm
came in looking for freedom and mostly religious freedom. Not that again, not that that's the conversation, the argument, but I'm just
Right.
saying, would we really be that far off?
I think that there are people around the world, to your point, that are separate and sovereign, and there's still the room to reflect heaven. To answer your question, yes, I think that is definitely doable. I suspect that is not what people are implying when they say separate and sovereign. I feel as though there's an underlying spite and distrust, as if it's to separate, not out of the desire for independence, but it's out of a hurt and a pain and a distrust. And I think that anything that is built on that, similar to a pastor who leaves a church and starts his own, right? Not because God called him out to do that, but because he left out of hurt. And you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's how we're going to do it, then the foundation, I believe, is going to be misplaced.
Right.
That's
And so
good.
if people are saying, yeah, if
That's
people are saying we want to build something good and strong based on our culture and our beliefs, if that's the foundation, I think it's different than saying you guys suck, I'm taking my ball and going home, right? I think that's completely different. One is bound for success, the other is bound for
right.
failure. I
Right.
just don't think that's what people are saying when they're like, let's leave, let's go away, like, let's create our own. I think it's coming out of a broken place, and that's not a good place to start anything.
I
Well,
agree.
Yeah.
I
I
would agree with that.
I agree with that. I think though, if I can play devil's advocate,
Advocate,
I
yes.
think that I think though that
Derek's like, what's new?
Right. He gonna be like, first of all,
Like,
Derek, your comment sucked. Second of all,
is what we do.
based on last week. All right, go ahead, go
But
ahead.
I think there is the history that has led up to a feeling of I can't get a fair shake. So therefore, because of that, maybe I need to go and create my own. Because
Yes.
Black Wall Street prospering,
Mm-hmm.
dollar
Mm-hmm.
turned over many times there, shut down.
Right. Right.
Um, so there is always this appropriation. There is always this taking away of that
Mm-hmm.
then leads to this isn't about me going to start another church because I'm hurt. You
Mm-hmm.
have me in position, but I can't play the keyboards. I can't sing. I can't
Right.
preach. I
Right.
can't do what I'm supposed to do. But you say that
Right.
I'm supposed to be here. You say that you love me. You say that you value me. So then
Mm-hmm.
I have something that I want to do. And I'm going not because I'm hurt, but I'm going
Right.
because I need to have the opportunity to do what it is that I'm supposed to do without the interference of your anger, your hate, your mistrust of me. And this is not the best person to quote I know as a pastor.
I think we're saying the same thing. Go
Right.
ahead.
But here's the question, the statement that I've heard Farrakhan say a few times, which is that I
Oh
listen, I
no, go ahead.
but
I'm
he
actually a
he
fan, but go
We
basically
ahead.
here now.
said he said that the reason that we are viewed as violent, or there is the desire to shut down any type of gathering together of people of color, is because the thought is that in the subconscious mind that maybe we'll repay in the same manner what's been repaid to us. And so
Mhm.
therefore, the thought is that if we're looking at us going off and start, it's not so we can just now go and develop our own country and have a nuclear power that we can now attack America or anything of that nature. That's not what it's about. It's
Hmm.
about, if we're talking sovereignty, is it something that we do so that we have now a level playing field without the history and without the structural the failed structural system that has been set up.
I mean, I think if you are uh, a revenge or a vengeance is mine type of guy, I think that works oftentimes that we see life through our lens. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm petty, I believe that everybody's gonna be petty. Right? If I'm stingy, then I believe that everybody else is gonna be stingy because surely I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
But I think from that perspective, um, I can't say how often the African American has done what Farrakhan is saying they will do.
Right.
I think oftentimes we really just want an equitous opportunity. We really just want. It's like, listen, man, listen. I ain't got time. Like, I don't have the energy
Mm-hmm.
to be fooling with y'all. Just like, let me open my business. Let me serve my chicken. Let me do my hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me. Let, I ain't even got time to be fooling with y'all. Like, let me just do my thing. And I think the frustration is when you don't have equity to just do your thing, that's when the top blows off the lid,
Right.
right? It's like if Pastor come over here and say one more thing about the way I play this organ, like just let me play this organ, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like I want to serve God, like you want to serve God, but you keep coming over and mess with me, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I think when people leave and when people they try to go out on their own and create these situations based on that alone, then I think that's where the foundation begins to crumble.
Yeah.
It's different saying I got a dream and I want to go build this thing. It's different than leaving under discord and hurt and pain and trying to guise it as something else. Um, so I
Sherry,
don't. I mean,
But
Sherry put it.
but isn't that in the
Let me put this in there real quick because Sherry had a great statement. She said, "In heaven we are celebrated, not tolerated. Can we create a place of celebration here, or what, or must we leave?"
mm,
Mm-mm-mm.
Good statement. Good
mhm.
statement.
Very good statement. Very good question. But I was just gonna say, but isn't everything that you just stated in the very foundation of this country? Isn't that why this country was created in the first place? Was out of the pain, was out of the intolerance, was out of the getting
Hmm.
away from the oppressive views of another sovereign and their system. And so as a
And that's why it's
result,
messed up. That's
Yeah.
why it's messed up.
Yeah.
Because we left. We didn't have a plan when we left. We didn't have a plan. We was like, we don't want to get away. We just want to get away from them. And I think that's what happens when you. It's like if I got all the materials to build a parachute when I jump off this bridge, like I may build it on the way down, and I may not die, but it's not as effective as if I would have built it before I jumped. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what we do sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
It's like
Yeah,
I
you're
got a
right.
dream. I want a fried chicken. And then you go to the place and they only open 11 to 2 because they didn't order enough, or they ain't got no plates, they ain't got no hot sauce. It's like, bro, what happened? You a chicken spot? It's like, I know, man, just grow with me, bro. Just grow. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think there's a difference
Yeah.
when you leave with intentionality and a plan and a destination. And I think it's different than when you leave out of something else. And I'm not saying that you can't leave out of one place and end at a different one. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I believe if we're gonna do it, And I'm down for it. If somebody want to go buy 500 acres and they want to create Black Oklahoma City, I'm like, listen, sign me up for a
Wakanda.
quarter lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody want to do it, sign me up. But what I'm not gonna do is like sell my house and move out there. And I'm like, all right, baby, we got power. And it's like, yeah, man, we working on that.
Right.
It's,
Right.
hey man, we got water. Yeah, man, we working on there, bro. I think that's just we get the habit of doing those things because we don't have the equity or the opportunity to do it how we want to.
Right.
And when we had it, they didn't let us do it. And when you build it up mid 1850s and they tear it down, you build it up in the 1920s and they tear it down, and you build it up in the 50s and the 60s and they tear it down, you get to the point where it's like, listen, man, can I just come on, man? Like, so now people they fed up and they in the streets. And not only are they messing up their own stuff, but they gonna mess up your stuff. And when you tell me to go back home, I'm gonna say shut up and I'm throwing a water bottle. Because when I tried to be civil, you wasn't having it. When we went and bought our 100 acres on the other side of town that y'all weren't even looking at, you came and bombed us. When we decided, it's like it's this frustration.
Mhm.
And I'm saying we have to, if we're gonna make that move towards sovereignty and separatism, it has to be a plan, and it can't be done out of hurt and brokenness
Yeah.
because we just gonna be somewhere by ourselves broke.
That's good. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry
I
for the
agree.
rant. Sorry
No,
for the
you good.
shoebox. My
Great,
bad.
You good.
great stuff.
Listen.
Great stuff. Yeah, I don't know if at this point I don't know if sovereignty is our best option at this point. Um, I guess my question, and I definitely hear what Derek, what you're saying. I think this is where my now question is coming from. How do we change the way we view us? How do we
Mm-hmm.
take where we are and grow from here? How do we heal enough to not have to always point back to back then? Because that's the other thing that winds up getting our conversation shut down. It's like, we're waiting on the others, whoever the others are, to acknowledge the very beginning of the problems. And like,
Right.
it's a very, very good chance that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And we teach this, we teach this in church. You can't wait to forgive somebody until they acknowledge that they did something wrong.
Exactly.
All
Exactly.
right, get your healing. Why? Because this is for you. It's
Right.
not so that they can recognize how wrong they were. It's
Right.
so that you
Right.
can heal and move on and do and be better. And so I
Yes.
guess I'm saying that on a collective scale. How, how do we do that? Can we do that with intentionality, or is that going to take another century? Is that going to take another 400 years? What can we do to heal us so that we can take advantage of at least where we are? Because we're not where we were.
Yeah.
Now we can say that. We can say that with true honesty. We're not where we were. We're not
Mm-hmm.
just subjected to menial jobs and minimum wage or less than minimum wage. We're not just, we ain't all just getting cheated out of everything.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
we're definitely better. So, yeah, where do we go from here? What? And I'm not talking about trying to include allies. I'm talking about just with us.
Just us. Right. I mean, I got tons of ideas, but Tari and Kevin have been quiet, man.
I'm gonna let Tori jump in.
Darren, that's the $1 million question, brother.
billion, $1 trillion question.
You're probably right because Kev, you know me. You've heard me say it. I don't know, Derek. I don't know if you heard me say it, but I'm a step back and look at the big picture type of guy.
Mhm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
just me.
Yeah.
My mom and dad raised me that way. I have to step back and I have to look at things from both sides so I can get a better view. Because to me, whenever you step back and you take a wider angle and a wider lens, you get to see things instead of seeing it from tunnel vision. So, and this may be me going all the way around the block just to get to a point, but hopefully you'll
We do
follow
that
me.
here.
Yeah, we do. For me, it for obvious, not obvious, but obvious to the people that know me. I've for my whole life almost, I say from my teens on, I've lived that life of being associated with two different sides. Kev, you talked about it, living on one side of the city and then going to school on another side. You look at things differently instead of just through your vision or the prism that you have in your local community. So for me, because of the type of person that I'm attracted to, which God told my mom and dad that when I was like 10, like long before I even started dating. So knowing that that was put in me and realizing that I have to look at things a lot differently, and I would actually have to go through things being persecuted, not just from people that are white, but being
Mhm.
persecuted from people that look just like me,
Mhm.
calling me Oreo and saying, well, you don't talk black, so you're not from the hood. What do you mean from the hood? I live on
Mhm.
Southgate Drive. What are you talking about, bro? I live five houses down from a crack house. What are you talking about? Just because my mom and dad taught me how to speak this way,
Right.
taught me how to make reservations when I was 12 years old. Hello, this is George Watkins. I need to make a reservation for them tonight at 7:30. Yes, that
Mm.
would be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You have a great day. I mean, they taught me how to do things like that, so I would be at an advantage. But on the flip side, there's a part of me that still hurts and wants people to realize, you know what, this stuff ain't right. We've been through a whole lot of. I heard the stories of my mom, my dad, my aunts and my uncles, my grandparents, the crap that they had to go through. So
Mhm.
there's been a lot of healing within myself because, and here's the thing, I chose to.
Mhm.
We can either choose to wallow in this and have self pity, or I can realize, you know what, this isn't right. But I can't blame the people that I live and work with now for the things that happened 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago. I have to realize that I'm going to have to make a difference for them right now. Am I a proponent of sovereignty? Me personally? No, I am not. Because I believe we live in a place where we are right now for a reason. God has put us here at this particular time for a particular reason. Like I said, I ain't going back there. I ain't going nowhere else. I'm staying right here because I believe it. I'm being comical, but I believe that there is a calling right here that God has put in me and for me to be able to make a difference. Not only, just like Darian said, not to people that don't look like me, to the allies. I'm talking about to the people that look like me. There has to be a mindset change, not saying that all of us think one way, but there has to be a mindset change to realize that it's not always about how we've been done wrong, but now how about let's see how we can be right and be better together. I don't like to see division within us. I don't like to see us going at each other. I don't like to see that, but it happens way too often. We talk about that in the church. It seems like Christianity, the church, is the only religion that eats their own and persecutes
Mm.
their own and tears down their own. We've seen that in Christianity over the years. When we've seen it with the denominations, we've seen one denomination fighting the other. Why do we have to be the same way? So for me, it's a mindset from within us
Yeah.
that we have to stop judging each other because of because we may think a different way, or I may not listen to I don't know, give me a name, I don't know, I may not listen to
Cardi B.
Maybach or Cardi B. That's a I don't yeah. I may not listen to certain things. I may not listen.
Ah,
I may not watch Greenleaf. I don't know. I mean, there may be things that I just don't. What? What is that?
Greenleaf?
Why are you throwing your heads up, Kev?
Greenleaf is crazy, but okay, go ahead.
So
Okay, I say
Go
that
ahead.
because I just started watching it because I said in the back of my mind, and my mama was in my head. I ain't watching that mess. I ain't watching that junk. That's just sacrilegious. And I literally I started watching last week. I was like,
hmm.
this is it's a little bit of shady, but yeah. But anyway, just because I don't have it on BET 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
yeah.
Okay. I may not have seen all the movies that a black person should see. Okay, that's fine. There's a whole lot of other stuff I like Hamilton. I'll watch it all day long. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. We have to stop. Anyway, I almost started singing. Anyway, we have. I really want us to stop.
When it happens.
Boy, I'm not throwing away my shot. I'm not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm not. Hey,
I'm not throwing away my.
Hey. Okay. Anyway, so we have to. I really want us to stop hurting each other, man. I want us to stop tearing each other down because that happens so much. I'm like, why? And maybe that's why we don't have somebody that's outspoken or a leader or somebody heading up the movement, because we're so quick to tear each other down. That bothers me, and it's bothered me my whole life. For me, it's a mindset within us that I think really has to change. And Darren, you spoke to that. So yeah, I've been quiet, so I've just been thinking.
I got a couple of things I want to throw in real quick. Got a buddy I went to school with, Joe Wilson. Shout out to Joe.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, Joe.
What up, Joe?
Joe is Caucasian, and I only bring that up because I want to read the quote the statement that he made. He said, "I watch you guys so I can understand, learn, and grow as a good follower of Jesus to understand the issues." So I appreciate that, Joe. Just wanted to put that out there, man. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, though, was I think another challenge that we have is that we have this, and it is definitely in the society and in the culture, the American culture, and that is this either or, black or white, one or the other. It can't,
two options.
Right. It's got to be one or the other. So either we got to heal ourselves or we got to blame the white man. Like,
right.
We got to wait for them to figure out that they've done us wrong, or we got to completely forget all of that and just fix us and move on. And honestly, I believe there is. I believe the collective psyche would be better off by allowing both and.
Yeah.
Yes.
If reconciliation, as much as we have, as I've heard that term, racial reconciliation, literally my entire life.
Yep.
I don't know how you do that outside of individual to individual.
Right.
I think you got to get to know somebody in order to say, hey, you know what, you're not as bad. And then the challenge with that is you also can't allow the good black, the good white, the good Asian to now all of a sudden represent all people.
Everybody.
Because you are going to run into that bad one. Yes. And all of a sudden now, I was deceived. I was hoodwinked. I was bamboozled. Yeah.
Well, okay. But Darren, we as a collective group of people have to be mature enough to realize that that's not the case. If you're going to let one side person think that you've been bamboozled, then you've got a bigger problem than what we can fix.
Yeah.
That's just like me saying, I'm never going to go to a doctor again because this doctor treated me bad. There may be a few people that do that, but overall, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to. People don't just stop going to Walmart. They don't go to that particular Walmart. They don't stop going to McDonald's. They stop going to that McDonald's. They don't stop going to Sonic. They just don't go to that Sonic. So if as a collective group of people, if we can be mature enough to realize that, hey, I'm not going to stop talking to black people. I'm just going to stop talking to that joker. Or I'm not going to just stop talking to Asians. I'm going to stop talking to that joker. Or I'm not going to stop talking to white people. Guess what? I'm just going to stay away from that joker. We have to be mature enough to be able to do that without putting everybody in and lump summing, profiling, which has got us in this problem to begin with, and stereotyping everybody into one group. I get what you're saying, Darian. But I have to believe that as people, we've got to be smarter than that. And then if we see it, because I've done it and I've lost friends on Facebook from it because of it. I've been unfriended and I'm okay with that because I've called out that whole lump summing of an idea and thinking just because you see this one segment, it applies to everybody. And I say the same exact thing. We have to be mature enough to realize that this is not happening. I- that's what matters the most to me. Are you going to be mature enough to realize that just because you saw one bad apple doesn't mean all the apples are bad? And guess what? I say the same thing about cops, and people don't like it that I say it. Ju- yeah, there are some really, really bad cops out there, but guess what? There's some really, really good ones out there. And I've had really, really good interactions, even here
Hmm.
recently, with some cops here in Oklahoma City, with my wife and my kid in the car, and it's been a good interaction.
Yeah.
I've had one after Amy passed. It was a good interaction. So I'm not going to be dumb enough or be immature and say, well, there's that bad one, so they're all bad. We have to be mature enough to make that difference. I'm off my soapbox.
All right, so we're gonna have to wrap it up, but I will say this: I'm not ever going to a Village Inn again because they almost killed my wife. So it was one, but I will not go to any of them.
When was this in Tulsa? A village in
Yes,
It
Tulsa?
was Tulsa,
yes. That's the only
yes.
place
Wait,
where
is
it's
that
at.
was that the one on
71st,
Sheridan or Memorial?
71st and
71st.
Memorial or whatever.
Yes!
Yeah,
Hey, that's the
It
one
is
that
gone.
we
It
found a
is
rock inside
gone.
of our Salisbury steak, bro.
yeah.
It's
A
gone.
That
rock.
Shut
A
down.
that
Board
rock.
it up.
ruined
I
Village Inn forever for the Crawley family.
cracked a tooth, bro. We never went back.
Board it up, man.
All right, so I
Diligent did not
appreciate the
survive
fellas.
COVID.
All right, but we're gonna
Got
wrap it
one
up for the
left.
day, guys. I appreciate the fellas. We had great conversation. We didn't even get a chance to get to our other topics to talk about Kanye or talk about Kamala
Talk
or
about
Big
who?
Ten.
Who?
Kamala Harris,
Kanye.
too. Oh
Kanye.
yeah,
Who?
the next president of the United States.
Boy, stop it. Don't make me jump through this screen on you, boy. I'm telling you right now. I don't jump,
Oh,
Kev. I don't jump a lot of places, but I'll jump through on this
Jesus
one, bro.
walks. All right. All right, but we're gonna wrap it
Boy.
up. Look, I appreciate everyone on here that's been watching all the comments. It's great. Every Tuesday at 5:30 Phoenix time, 7:30 Central, we do this. Just four fellas having conversations about whatever we talk about, and it goes down like this all the time. Look, we
Oh,
appreciate you guys.
Spice.
We'll see you all next week. Be blessed.